All right, so let's talk about the bombshells that were revealed at the DC Fandome. Well, if that's what you're waiting for, you are watching the wrong video because there was absolutely nothing incredible announced at the DC Fandome. Even though they advertised bombshell announcements and brand new content, that didn't happen, at least not for anything major. So let's talk about the DC Fandome. I was going to live stream this event yesterday and give my thoughts, but I'm actually glad that I had my daughter's wedding because it actually ended up being a huge waste of time. It was actually the exact same DC Fandome as last year, minus any bombshell announcements. We did get the Batman trailer. We did get a behind the scenes at Aquaman 2. We did get a behind the scenes and our first look at Black Adam. And we did get our first look at The Flash, and there was a little teaser with Michael Keaton in there, but you don't get to see his face, but Michael Keaton was narrating. And we did get a few things in regards to a couple of cartoon series that are coming out, and we got the typical announcements. What they did waste a lot of time on was 15 minutes on Milestone Comics, which is obviously catering to, a segment of society that is not the mainstream, but is still an important part. But they spent 15 minutes on that. They spent 15 minutes on the Peacemaker show and kind of crapped on everything else. Now, I think there's a reason for that. I don't want people to think this is necessarily a bad thing. Now, I was hoping that the Air Cut was going to be announced, which did not happen. And I could tell you exactly why that didn't happen and what I'm expecting to happen in the next, 6 to 8 months from now. We've already heard from the Discovery president, and he said they have a plan going forward. They know exactly what they're going to do when this transition takes place. There was absolutely nothing new announced, no big movies, nothing. And that's because everything is moving over to Discovery. So, if anything, next year's DC Fandome is going to be off the charts amazing. I still expect that the David Ayers cut of Suicide Squad is going to get released, but I don't think it's going to happen maybe in the next year. Maybe it will. It may happen as soon as, Discovery takes over. We don't know. I know that his film is done. They just need to release it. So there was nothing new announced. They pretty much crapped on Batman. They pretty much crapped on Superman. There was nothing of Ben Affleck, nothing of Henry Cavill coming back as Superman. They ignored that. They didn't talk anything Green Lantern at all. It was like they're big. They didn't talk anything Wonder Woman. Their Trinity and their big players were non-existent. The only thing we got as far as the big players was the Flash kind of behind-the-scenes look, which is fascinating. And I'm going to break down each of those trailers in separate videos. I'm not actually going to show the video, but I'm going to talk about my thoughts on each of those trailers. So I would recommend before you watch those videos that I'm eventually going to post over the next week that you actually watch the trailers prior to watching my video so I can talk about some of the stuff that I saw in those trailers. I could tell you that on the Batman or the Flash trailer, there's a lot of people saying, Ben Affleck is dead. They saw his cowl. The one thing I will tell you is that a lot of people were mistaken with the Flash trailer, thinking they saw Ben Affleck's cowl in the background with blood. It's not Ben Affleck's cowl. It is actually Michael Keaton's cowl. And you could see the symbol to Michael Keaton's costume in the back. You can pause it and see that clearly. So it would be suicide for the studio to kill off Ben Affleck's Batman. I'm telling you right now, that is not going to happen in the Flash movie. If it does, I won't be seeing the film, and I don't think very many people will go see the film if that's the case. I mean, if they're going to bank on Michael Keaton being Batman and that bringing people into the theaters, that may work as a ploy, but it's not going to be the main drive that gets people in there. Outside of that, we didn't get anything, and that's, like I said, because that change is coming. They're not announcing anything, and everything's been pretty quiet. I will tell you, this is the most lackluster event. I saw all of it. I watched half of it before the wedding, and I watched the other half when I got home, and it was nothing to call home about. I will tell you that. I'm not excited about anything that they announced. The only thing that I'm excited for that they announced, other than the stuff that we already knew, I do want to see Aquaman. I do want to see The Flash. I am actually more interested in the Batman now. But outside of that, the things that we already knew they were going to talk about, there was nothing new announced, nothing new presented. The one thing that was presented was the cartoon for the Caped Crusader. They came in and said that they're able to do something that they wanted to do back when they did Batman the Animated Series, but they had limitations, and those limitations were severe when you're on network television, and that they won't have those limitations when they do this cartoon. So they're going to be able to give the version of Batman the Animated Series that we always wanted to see. So I am excited for that cartoon. But this was just not what I wanted to see, and it was pretty much a waste of time. I'd like to hear what you guys thought about the DC Fandome. What are your thoughts? Like I said, I don't think this is bad news. If anything, I think this bodes well for the future, but we will see when they do decide to announce some stuff here in 6 months or a year from now. So there's still going to be plenty to talk about in the coming months. So stick to my channel. We will be digging deep into all of this amazing DCEU material that will be coming out in the next year and beyond. And hopefully most of it is good, but we will see. We can't know anything until that merger happens. But they have a plan in place, and it's either going to be amazing or it is going to be way off the mark. But we will find out shortly. All right, we will see you guys on the next video.